Well, I think it would be pretty egotistical of us to think we're the only game in the universe. So I'm very accepting of the fact that there's life in the universe. And I think that probably you know, most people that are in that profession of astrophysics and dealing with matters in outer space believe that the universe is a big place and that there's life out there.
Okay. So Nick, the British government recently made public UFO documents. Essentially, it's what their X-Files. So what did they reveal, if anything?
Well, this was 9,000 pages of documentation released just a couple of weeks ago. And that's interesting in itself because, of course, the British government's position on this had always been, the policy was to downplay the level of our interest and say that it was of no defense significance. And yet, of course, behind the scenes, we were much more concerned than I think we were letting on, particularly where we have sightings where the witnesses were pilots, where these things were seen by police officers, where they're tracked, for example, on military radar. Those sorts of cases we took very seriously, because if there's something in our airspace, it's a defense and national security issue. It's got to be.
Okay. Wow, this is a very serious panel about UFOs. Leslie, I want to talk to you. You spent 10 years researching and studying UFO phenomena. You talked to some high-level sources. What did you find out? What did they tell you?
Well, I mean, when you put it all together, and I talked to many high-level sources, the bottom line is that there is a real phenomenon there. I mean, there is a physical phenomenon. It's well documented by governments, officials, and aviation experts. It behaves in ways that we cannot explain because we don't have the technology that can do what these objects do. And there are enough cases that demonstrate the reality, the physicality of this absolutely phenomenal technology that you cannot deny its existence, and we're just stuck because we can't explain it away.
Yeah, many people want to deny it, but James, do people want to believe, you think?
I think the vast majority of witnesses that I certainly have talked to, especially the military witnesses, it's more burdened with the information than anything else. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. And this is an amazing panel, by the way, and I'm very glad to be part of it. But I wanted to ask Nick Pope, as an official who investigated UFOs for the British government, that I think we can all agree that the vast majority of UFOs have and can be explained away in sort of down-to-earth, you know, prosaic terms. However, there is a residual 5 or 10% of cases, very unambiguous cases coming from very, very credible sources.
Yeah,
and I'd like to ask
don't those 5% at least give you pause that you know, there may be some sort of truth?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So there's a 5 or 10% core residual that just defy an explanation. And Nick, I'd like to ask you directly while we're on camera right now, what is the most plausible hypothesis for that 5 or 10% from your investigation for the British government?
Well, I honestly don't really know. The unknown means unknown, and you're quite right. A small proportion of the cases we couldn't identify, but we in the Ministry of Defense, we weren't clear whether we were dealing with foreign military aircraft or drones, perhaps some breakthrough technology, whether we were dealing with exotic atmospheric phenomena or whether we were dealing with something completely unknown. But I mean, the point remains, if these sorts of things are in our airspace, performing speeds and maneuvers that seem to go significantly ahead of anything that we've got, then we desperately need to know what they are. And of course, there are technology implications as well. That's one of the reasons why the Ministry of Defense was interested in this. What about, could this tell us something about propulsion system, aerodynamics, weaponry?
Okay.